Hey, it's Sage from Sage Knows IT. I know I've been gone for a couple of months, got a great explanation. Community member challenged me to round out my certifications from CompTIA. I already have the Security Plus. Next on the list, A Plus. Let's go. So without further ado, let's get into the discussion about the CompTIA A+. Today, we're going to talk about what the CompTIA A+ is, my initial expectations based off of my experience and what I perceived to know prior going into this experience. Then we'll talk about some statistical information about the way that I tested, the way that I studied, also going to share with you some resources that are available for you to study for this test if this is something that you are interested in doing soon. I will answer the question of whether or not I passed this experience. And then also giving you guys some tips as well as free notes. Everyone likes free things. We're gonna definitely offer some free notes here on the channel there, but you gotta watch in order to get it. So without further ado, let's move on. So what is the CompTIA A+? Currently there's two versions of this test in order to get your certification from CompTIA. The first one is Core 1, which is dubbed the hardware portion of the exam. As of today, the exam number is 220-1101. And then there's Core 2, which is dubbed the software portion of this test, which is currently 220-1102. So the CompTIA A+ exam is really designed to kind of help you understand the troubleshooting aspects of IT. It focuses on hardware, networking, mobile devices, operating systems, hardware troubleshooting versus software troubleshooting, security, as well as among some other things. Now, I wanted to take just a quick second to kind of go through the website and answer some of the other questions that are relevant, as in how many questions there are on the exam, how long is the exam, the cost of the exam, so that way you guys can see it. So we're going to go ahead and go to CompTIA's website. I will provide a link in the description here so that you have that information available to you. All right, so here we are at the CompTIA A+ part of the website there. As you can see, it has the new exam code 220-1001 and 1002 that I had mentioned previously before. Again, I gave you guys a pretty good synopsis of what it is, but you guys can get more information through here. I won't bore you with the details there. But as I say, these are kind of the core aspects of both of the tests combined on what they're trying to get you to do. So we're going to scroll down just a little bit more to the important part here. I mean, all of it's important, really. So the launch date, this one launched April of 2022 itself. Tells you that it covers mobile devices, networking, troubleshooting, hardware, virtualization. The number of questions, there are 90 questions per the exam. They are multiple choice, but there are some drag and drop performance-based testing, so that's good to know. In order to pass the test, you have to have a 675 for the first version, which is the hardware one, and you have to get a 700 for the second version of it, which is the software portion of it. Ideally, they want you to have 9 to 12 months of experience. I would recommend that you do have some type of experience in place before taking this test, and I'll explain why in the later slides. To take this test itself, you have two options. You can go to a peer review or Pearson VUE testing center somewhere close in your area, or you can do a online test with Pearson VUE, which I will just take a quick second to kind of just let you know. I took my test on the online version of it. I have taken previous tests in person before when I did my Security Plus a few years back, or probably a decade back. So when you take the online version of the test, just a couple of things to note. I would highly recommend that you do the systems check beforehand. It's kind of like a simulation to make sure that your computer would be able to handle the testing. So it'll check the mic, the camera, the bandwidth. You do is to make sure that your space is completely you don't have anything like pens, papers, electronic devices. All that has to be gone itself. So just keep that in mind. Your desk basically has to be bare. You need a camera that's on a tripod, because they are going to ask you to kind of do a pan 360 around your desk to make sure that there's like no notes or devices or aids that you could be using for the test itself. So just kind of keep that piece of it in mind. As for the price of it, currently right now it stands at $246 American dollars per exam. There are other options if you're outside of the US, but this website will give you that information. So my expectations running into this was that this was going to be a pretty simple and easy test. The reason being is I have 20 plus years of experience in IT, anywhere from website design, hosting, security, to break fix work. Like, I've seen it and done it all, and I felt like I'd be able to breeze past this with little effort whatsoever. Boy, was I wrong. That probably would be something that I would think was doable maybe 5 or 10 years ago, maybe around the time that I took my Security Plus. But now the A Plus kind of reminds me of, oddly enough, it reminds me of kind of an overview of like hardware, networking, and security all in one, just not as concentrated. And that was crazy. So if you're like me and you decide to go ahead and take the A Plus and you have the experience, I would say to you, take the time to go over the material, do some tests, some practice tests to see where you are, where you line up on. I found pretty quickly that I was deficient in certain areas, which we'll talk about when we dissect the different tests. So the way that I study for this test is I use the 100% CompTIA Cert Master. Keep in mind, you don't have to do this yourself. I had a deal that allowed me to take this test, which was relatively inexpensive to do. So I decided to do that. One of the benefits of taking the Cert Master test versus maybe a test on Udemy or Cyber IT is that the tests really do mimic closely the CompTIA, or the practice exams mimic a lot of what CompTIA's final exam is, and I found that very helpful in understanding how they phrase things. And one of the things I liked about it also is that it will tell you where your weaknesses are and where you need to focus your efforts too. So the test itself, or the practice test itself, and this may be a reoccurring theme, is the practice tests seem to be harder than the actual tests are in many aspects of it. So I find myself earlier on when I was doing the study and the testing, like, wow, like this is I'm scoring very, very low, and this is really, really crazy to me. I think that most places ask or recommend rather that you score like between 85 and 95% to be comfortable with it. I was scoring somewhere in the low 70s and mid 80s consistently. So that was kind of worrying me just a little bit when taking this test. So there are other resources that are available if you can't do the Cert Master. One of the ones that is probably the most popular is Professor Messer. He has his YouTube channel with all the A plus material. He does a really good job of explaining things in layman's terms, as well as he does like monthly study sessions, which I'm hoping to do that going forward for you guys as well, to kind of go over that. So definitely check that out. The resource for the link is available in the resource section of our website, www.sageknowsit.com, or you can just search Professor Messer on YouTube and you should be able to find it, whichever is easier for you. CompTIA also has some books that are available. The CIBEX Complete Study Guide by Quentin Doctor and John Buhagari. I apologize if I mispronounced that. So that's a good thing. The link will be in the notes as well, so that you have that there. Cyber IT is also a great source as well. There are many others. I try to list as many as possible on my website, so that way you guys have that information available to you. So please be sure to go check that out. Now, what we're all here for, did I pass the test? So we're going to take this one thing at a time, all right? So for the first test, I did pass. So the hardware portion of the test, I started my studying time on August 3rd, and I ended my study time. I felt comfortable with it on August 12th. So it took me approximately 9 days to take the test. As far as the difficulty level, I put moderate here. The reason being is that if you have no experience at all, this might be a little bit of a tougher task. It's not like crazy difficult to do it if you just take the time to study. Do some hands-on lab work if you can. If you can find like an old laptop or old computer, take it apart. I think that will be helpful in taking this portion of the test as well. For those who are experienced like myself, you will quickly find that there are probably areas that you are not as proficient in. My admittedly area was printers, and the different types of components of printers, whether they were laser printers, dot matrices, which yes, their dot matrices was a thing. It's all in this test itself. So take the time to study, or take practice tests, find where you're deficient in, and do the best that you can to focus on those key areas. Don't have to spend a lot of time if you're experienced. Again, took it in 9 days, and that was that. So what about core number 2? So for core number 2, I also did pass that on my first attempt. I started my study schedule on August the 12th, immediately right after I passed the core 1 exam, and then I finished my studies on August 19th. Took me 7 days to complete this test or this part of the exam and to test out. Much like the difficulty level for 1, 2 is going to be a little bit, again, this is moderately difficult if you have experience, maybe a little bit more harder if you don't have experience on doing this here. I was going into this thinking that they were going to be asking questions about ports and talking about how to install software, how to uninstall software, and none of that was really a focus area in either the study material or the exam that I took itself. So yeah, so this one just didn't know what to really expect going into it, but yes, 7 days to take this one here. So I'm gonna take a quick pause and just say, like, if you need study materials for this, my website has a lot of great links for other resources, but I will definitely provide my study materials that I used. All I ask is that you like this video. In the comment section, leave a response in the comments as to why, and tell me why you are taking the A+ test. And then finally, just sign up for the newsletter at www.sageknowsit.com. And the study notes will be something that will be available to you. If you don't want to go through that steps, you can always support the channel by subscribing or by one of the memberships, and the notes will be available for all members as well. So either one you want to do, it's all up to you. But hopefully it will help you. All right. So what is my advice with the A+? first off, how do you know you're ready? We kind of hinted at this earlier on. Really, this is going to be a comfortability question for yourself. You know, some people say, again, 75 to 90, or sorry, 85 to 95% on practice tests is really where you want to be. But just keep in mind, in my experience and those of others in the community, we have found that the practice tests are a little bit more difficult than the actual exam itself. I would also encourage you to search for like videos about simulations that you might see on the test itself. There's not going to be anyone that's going to actually be on the test itself, but other people can kind of share their experience with you on tips and techniques when it comes to that. Again, I plan on doing something in the future for you guys to kind of help you in that aspect of it. So just stay tuned for that. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel for that. So my second thing is, and this is probably the most important thing, this could be an arduous process. So you need to make sure that you have a positive mental attitude through this entire experience. I know that you want to rush through it, and you feel like you might get it, and then you get that grade that's like not what you expected, and your confidence level just goes down. Don't. These tests aren't designed to be easy. They're really not. They're performance-based tests. They're designed to make you think. It's supposed to be challenging itself. Know that you have resources that are available to you. Our community has no shortage of knowledge sharing, this channel included. We're all here to help you succeed in tech. But you just got to let everyone know that you're struggling. We'll find you the resources that you need to get you to the next level. But keep a positive mental attitude throughout the entire process. If you fail your first exam, don't worry. A lot of people fail their first exam as well, especially with CompTIA. Just focus on, at the end of your test, they give you kind of a breakdown of the areas where you were the weakest at. Focus on those areas. Use practice simulations to help you through those. That will help you tremendously on your second attempt. Use Quizlets. Practice your brain dumps. This is something I didn't talk about earlier, but that helps me tremendously. When I have like a whiteboard that I would constantly use like this, and the first 3 minutes, like I would do 3-minute sessions. Like every 3 minutes, I'm jotting down as much information as I have, formulas that I might need, ports that I recommend, or that I try to put on here. Lastly, on the test itself, make sure that you're reading the question and really understanding what it's asking you. Sometimes it'll divert you in one way, but then the last line of the question is asking you something completely different that may not even be relevant to the top text. I noticed that was a lot on the practice tests, and I have a similar experience when I was taking the test itself. So just make sure that you're completely reading the what the question is actually asking you to do. Okay. For Core 1, my testing tip for Core 1 is to have a firm grasp on like printers and cabling and Wi-Fi standards itself. Know the difference between a Wi-Fi N versus a Wi-Fi AC. Those things will you know, from what I've heard, very testable. I didn't have much of those questions, but it's really good to have. Troubleshooting methodology. This is definitely something that it is tested on. Be sure that you understand the 7 steps of troubleshooting. Really, really, really important. I will definitely have a video coming soon to talk about that. When we talk about Core 2, just have a firm grasp on the command line tools like ping, nmap, traceroute, and when that you need to actually use those, and like what scenarios that you need to use them. I didn't put it on here as well, but understanding DNS, the way that DNS and IP work, is really, really essential to this portion as well. As I said a little bit earlier, these tests really do have a broad umbrella. It dips into network security. It dips in, in Network Plus, or networking, and also dips into security or security plus. So make sure that you kind of really hone in on that when you're studying to understand things like ransomware or other types of malware, or the difference between a virus and a Trojan horse. Like, make sure that you have a firm grasp on that. From a broad knowledge perspective, try to understand the ports and services. It's not something that's going to be like, you're going to see a lot of it on the test, but it's definitely important for you to know. You may get a question that gives you a port number, and it's asking you how to troubleshoot it, and you need to understand what that particular port number is. So for instance, if it's asking you a question about 443, you should know that that's talking about HTTPS. Okay. I was going to say DNS there for a second. I'm not even going to lie. But just make sure that you have a broad understanding of the ports, just the main ones, 20, 21, 22, 25, 143, 449, and 3389, which is RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. Make sure that you have those in mind. Again, I will have separate videos so that you guys can, so it can help you out. Hopefully it helps. All right, so what's next? I needed to, the logical step, I got my Security Plus, I have my A Plus. My next step is to round it off to the Network Plus. As of the recording of this video, I have done that. I am in the process of recording that portion of the video. So if you found this video helpful, be sure that you watch the next video for the Network Plus. I wish you the best success. Please be sure to like, subscribe. If you know someone who needs this information, please share this link out, share it to your friends, family members. I am coming out with some study sessions and some materials related to A Plus to help you. It's not going to be all encompassing, at least not right away, but it is going to be something that I feel like it will help. Again, knowledge sharing is what we do here at Sage Knows IT. Thank you so much for your time. Y'all know the drill. Keep it real.